This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The wildfire battle continues. Nearly 13,000 square kilometers of the province now burned and more area being scorched daily. In Manitoba's Island Lake region, emergency evacuations continue as flames and thick smoke move closer to communities. CBC's Felicia Adam has the latest.
This photo taken from a helicopter shows just how close out-of-control flames are to the community of Garden Hill, a Shinanu Nation.
We're losing land and homes. There's precious things in people's homes, memories, pictures.
Winnie Harper is one of thousands evacuated from the area and one of 12,000 people out of their homes because of wildfires.
It's very difficult. It's very stressful for everybody.
The wildfires in Manitoba's Island Lake region are threatening 3 of the 4 First Nations. Red Sucker Lake is safe. Wasagamak and St. Teresa Point, a Shinanu Nation, are evacuating those most vulnerable.
It's difficult to see that.
The Grand Chief of Island Lake says as of Tuesday, 90% of Garden Hill had been evacuated.
You know that your community's under threat of fire and there's potential to lose life and to lose property is something that I don't think anybody wants to go through or experience.
McDougall says if people stay back, they face the threat of fire, but coming to the city has its own threats. Just last week, police made arrests because drug dealers were targeting evacuees.
There's a lot of stress and anxiety and fear within the people, just waiting to see what will happen. Or is there going to be efforts to put out the fires, or are we going to be running again and leaving our homes?
While there has been support to get people out, McDougall says more help in fighting the fire is needed.
More equipment on the ground, more aerial support with water bombers and helicopters with buckets that can actually get to those sites to put out those fires before they get out of hand.
The province says it's setting up more evacuation centers in case there are more people forced to leave. Right now, over 1,000 people are in 2 congregate shelters in Winnipeg. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some Manitobans without health cards can now see doctors in hospitals. It's all because of a change intended to ensure vulnerable patients receive better medical care. Rosanna Hempel has more.
Toby Jolly says this health clinic at Silo Mission got 15,000 visits last year. That included clients experiencing homelessness who did not have a Manitoba health card.
We've had community members who have come in and been fearful of going to the hospital because they're going to ask for my health card.
Jolly says clients without a card have generally accessed health care in emergencies in the public system. But when it comes to ongoing care or referrals to specialists, she says some have been turned away. She hopes Manitoba's new good faith billing process helps change that.
It was really exciting for us to know that our community members will get the care they need at the hospital as well.
Doctors Manitoba says hospital physicians can now bill the healthcare system for certain patients without a health card. They include newborns, people experiencing homelessness, new residents to Canada, and those who've recently been incarcerated. Doctors Manitoba President Nichelle Desailly says the move will help cut administrative burdens for physicians and help them get reimbursed faster.
So the good faith billing option is really helpful.
As a rural physician, Desailly often encounters newborns and newcomers who don't yet have a card. Some new residents delayed going to the hospital.
I've seen dramatic, life-threatening situations develop due to folks not seeking care as early as they could have for this reason.
In a statement, Health Minister Uzoma Esaguera called the change a small and simple step that will give physicians more time to focus on their patients instead of chasing down paperwork. Jolly says the change is a step in the right direction.
I'd love to see them expand good faith billing to places like us.
Jolly says expanding it to clinics and settings beyond just hospitals would alleviate even more barriers to health care in the community. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Winnipeg personal care home is asking the courts to prevent police from getting any details related to the death of a 90-year-old resident. The woman died last October, a week after falling out of her bed at Concordia Place. The care home says the fall did not cause her death. A critical incident committee reviewed the case while police also started looking into it. A judge granted cops the production order in February. It requires Concordia to disclose all communications as well as photos and x-rays. But the care home argues it's prohibited from doing so under the Manitoba Evidence Act. A Southwest Winnipeg couple is suing the city, their neighbor, and the contractors over a wall of earth dividing the two properties. It's all over this berm built near the north side of their property in Wilkes South. In a statement of claim, they say the neighbor built a 9-meter-high wall along the property line out of animosity. They also claim the city failed to properly review and permit the plans for the project. They want the court to order the wall be taken down. Well, they not only protect homes and buildings from fire, but people and pets. But firefighters say right now no one is protecting them. The union representing Winnipeg firefighters say a number of first responders have recently been attacked on the job, and it wants more to be done to keep them safe. CBC's Zubina Ahmed has more.
Firefighting comes with risk, running into burning buildings and responding to dangerous situations. United Firefighters of Winnipeg Union President Nick Casper says violence is now a major risk of concern.
The first occurred when firefighters were responding to a vehicle on fire. They arrived on scene. The officer stepped out of the truck, and as the crew was working to extinguish the car fire, he was struck in the face with a metal pole.
Casper said in another incident, a firefighter was threatened at knife point when responding to an overdose.
They woke the individual when assessing him, and he pulled out a large knife and threatened to kill the crew.
Casper says in a third incident, a fire responder was also punched in the stomach. The union is calling for federal legislation that would protect firefighters the way police and peace officers are protected.
I mean, you have 3 different uniforms standing side by side, and one of them struck. That's its own distinct criminal offense. The other 2 are not. And I do know that something needs to change, and we need to take action.
Justice Matt Weave says the province supports the union call to amend the criminal code.
We've got their backs. We stand with our firefighters. We stand with our first responders in this province.
Mayor Scott Gillingham also supports the call and is taking action at City Hall.
I have a motion that will come to council that we're just drafting right now, calling on the federal government to reestablish the bills that kind of died on the floor because the election was called.
Winnipeg's deputy chief says the violent incidents have gone up over the last few years.
Our first mode of operation is to try and avoid or remove ourselves from those scenes and then de-escalate as required. But certainly it's not always possible because of the implement of the things we're seeing in the society from the mental health and drug issues that are perpetrating more of the violence on our personnel.
He says if incidents like this continue, it will affect staff morale. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Arctic Gateway Group has announced infrastructure improvements and one more weekly train to the Port of Churchill along the Hudson Bay rail line. It also added in a new critical minerals facility that's expected to triple storage capacity at the port. Chris Avery, the CEO of the company, says these improvements are meant to help Canada meet the moment.
The country is actively exploring how we build and secure projects of national importance. And the Port of Churchill is very much part of that conversation.
There are also plans to modernize the wharf at the port in the coming months. The announcement comes as talk of a second port heats up. Canada's energy regulator just greenlit the Nistanan Utility Corridor project to export liquefied natural gas through Port Nelson, but it still has to jump through a number of regulatory hurdles. Riley's in now. Riley, it was a day where you needed to hold on to your hat if you were outside.
Yeah, a little breezy. Other than that, pretty pleasant temperature-wise today. I mean, a little bit below seasonal for this time of the year. As expected, 21 degrees as forecast this afternoon in Winnipeg. Temperatures around the south hovering at or just below the 20-degree mark. Some 19s through the Parkland down into Westman, 19 in Thompson today as well. That's because of a couple of things. First off, we have this low That brought us a little bit of rain yesterday, departing south of the border. Behind that, some high pressure is starting to set in, and that's what's caused some of those windy conditions that we saw throughout the south today, but which will also lead to some cooler temperatures for us over the coming days, really province-wide, because of a bit more of a northerly flow for us. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. 8 degrees overnight, yes, single digits. Good night to sleep with the windows open. Still a bit breezy overnight tonight in Winnipeg. Northeasterly winds gusting up to 30. First thing in the morning, 13 degrees, and we'll try for 23 tomorrow afternoon. Mix of sun and clouds, Brittany. Temperatures like these hanging around for a bit. I'll have that when I come back.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
For years, potato farmers in PEI have had a hard time finding workers to check their plants for viruses. Now a special robot is on the job. Nancy Russell has more.
The potato robot is back for a second season, and the researchers from UPEI who created the Agra Scout say it's even better than last year's version. The new robot has 9 cameras compared to 5 last year, so it can scan almost double the rows of potatoes in a single pass.
And those cameras look for symptoms, and it works like a human brain, so we have millions of images which we labeled for, say, different symptoms of potato virus Y. So those cameras, when those images get compared with artificial brain and look for whether it is infected or healthy.
Last summer, the images were analyzed back at the lab. Now they are done in real time.
Basically takes somewhere between 13 to 17 minutes to do an acre. And that is one of our consideration, that we have a version or we have a solution that is efficient.
If the computer sees signs of potato virus, it squirts the plant with a blue dye. Then growers can go back and pull the diseased plant from the field. Human rogers have traditionally scouted potato fields for disease, but they have been hard to find in recent years.
It's a very small window, the roguing, where we have to pull out diseased plants, and that's what this is designed to do. So it could help us immensely, get through that short window and reduce our staffing for roguing.
This version can even work at night.
Yeah, we'd like to roll 24/7, not shut off. And that's the great part about having a machine that can do it as opposed to humans, right?
This year's version is one step closer to a potato robot that can be sold commercially. Researchers still have a few more ideas.
Ideally, down the road, I don't know when. I think if there is a robotic arm that can be attached to the boom and those plants are pulled right away, so that would be a perfect solution, but we are not there yet.
Researchers say the robot may also someday be used to scout for weeds and other pests, making it even more useful for protecting potatoes and even other crops. Nancy Russell, CBC News, Hampshire.
Well, I'm sure those farmers could use any help they can get. It's a tough job, that is.
Yeah.
Farmers this year are having a tough go with the drought in some areas as well, too, and not a really good soaking on the way for places that really need it.
No, we could use some very good rain across much of the province, north and south at this point. Don't have a lot of that coming, unfortunately. What will help the firefight, though, in northern Manitoba will be a bit of a reprieve from those really warm temperatures. I want to take you through the 10-day temperature trend. This is for Winnipeg, but really gives us a snapshot of what we're looking at trend-wise across the province for the next week and a half here. So temperatures remaining below seasonal through the end of the week. Then we see a bit of a surge into early next week before we drop back down into 23, 24 degree territory. I know if you're a fan of beach days, summer outdoor activities, maybe these 22, 23s aren't the days you want, but those are the days that we need, along with some lighter winds, in order to help put a dent in some of that firefighting situation that we're dealing with in parts of northern Manitoba. What could help is a good soaking rain. Like I said, I don't have that in the cards right now. across the province, really across the prairies, dominated by high pressure. That's going to clear our skies out and introduce a bit more of a northeasterly flow for southern Manitoba. So I know not as hazy today across the south, but I think once we get into the day on Wednesday, we will start to see some of that haze flowing back down into the Red River Valley. Again, it really is dependent on the winds and how strong they are and a number of factors in terms of the flow that we're seeing. So yes, I mean, hazy at times through parts of the south tomorrow. Probably not as smoky as it was over the weekend, perhaps, but certainly just keep that in mind as we head through the next couple of days here. Sunny start to Thursday as well. Bit of cloud cover rolls in behind that, and then comes another system that I'm watching that's coming out of the States that will push along the international border that could give us a few showers as we get into the day on Friday. Still some disagreement in terms of the models with that, though. Behind that area of high pressure, a bit of a trough is formed in the jet stream here. That's going to keep us cool, aided in part by this area of low pressure here over Hudson Bay. That's really bringing in some cooler air to the southern prairies as we get through the next couple of days. We start to see that starting to lift a little bit as we get into the day on Sunday. You can start to see a ridge starting to form in the jet stream here. This will fuel some warmer temperatures as we get into the early part of next week. But for now, though, as we get into the day on Wednesday, temperatures still below seasonal, 21s, 22s through the west, 23 in Winnipeg, looking at temperatures hanging around 20 through much of northwestern Ontario as well. 24 on the way for Thursday, Brittany, and then there's that chance of a shower or maybe a thunderstorm as we head through the day on Friday. Your 7-day forecast is coming up.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, most provinces across the country have made it easier for consumers to buy alcohol across borders. The move is an effort to remove interprovincial trade barriers. Sharon Yonan-Reynolds has more.
By next spring, you might be able to order alcoholic beverages from outside your province. Right now, each province has their own rules for buying booze from a different province or territory. For example, let's say you live here in Quebec and you want to order a case of wine for personal consumption directly from an Ontario producer or retailer like the LCBO. You are allowed to drive it over yourself, but if you want it shipped, you need to get permission from Quebec's liquor board or have them order it for you directly. Restaurants here are in the same boat. They generally can only source from the SAQ or some local artisanal producers who have a specific permit. And local producers can only sell to the SAQ or directly to customers at their own production facility. But now, most Canadian provinces and territories have signed an agreement to remove some of those barriers.
To align all these different provinces who historically have worked in silo with their own liquor commissions, to get them on board to do one program, a national program that will allow direct-to-consumer sales.
It's still unclear what exactly this new process would look like in practice and what exactly direct-to-consumer actually means here. Would we be able to buy directly from producers or have to go through liquor boards in provinces that currently have them? What about ordering directly from producers locally, which is something Quebecers can't currently do? What about taxes, shipping, public health concerns? Let's say a Quebecer orders a whiskey from Saskatchewan. Do they pay their alcohol tax rate, Quebec's, or a new national one? How much could you order? Would the minimum age be 18 or 19? The provinces say there's still a lot they need to figure out.
This has never been done before, and so we want to make sure that we get it right.
One thing we know for sure is that nothing will change for restaurants. The change will affect consumers and producers. This Montreal distillery owner says that while it's a move in the right direction, it probably won't be much of a boost for Quebec producers who are more locally focused anyway. He adds that these new provincial agreements still won't give him access to shelf space in stores or liquor boards outside the province.
All consumers are going to go, hey, it's wonderful that I have more choice. So from a producer's perspective, it's a little different. I don't know that it's going to bring a significant change.
Still, some experts are hopeful that the move opens the door for what's really the larger goal here, more interprovincial trade.
I do think this shows a greater momentum, and if provinces can come together and make up a deal, this can show as a precedent for other sectors which would further develop in the future.
The participating provinces and territories hope to have this new process in place by May 2026.
Well, more people than ever showed up to celebrate the 50th annual Folk Festival this year. Now, despite smoky weather conditions, the festival broke records with more than 15,000 attendees each day. That doesn't include the thousands of volunteers, artists, and donors. The lineup included some fan favorites like Manitoba children's entertainer Fred Penner, who opened the festival Thursday. The 51st festival will return July 9th to 12th, 2026.
All right, dog walking forecast. Not a bad day probably for the pups tomorrow once we get into the day. Freya and Luna, I think, are really eager for a walk here. Thank you, Christy and Mike, for sending this picture in. Keep sending your dogs to talkback@cbc.ca. I love to see them all. We're looking at a bit of a comfortable day tomorrow is what I'm calling it. 23 degrees, northeasterly winds could push some haze into southern Manitoba, though. So keep that in mind as we get through the afternoon hours, the potential for some haziness. 24 for Thursday, mainly sunny skies. 22 for Friday, chance of showers, maybe a thunderstorm in there as well. And that will signal a bit of a change in our pattern here. So temperatures back up to seasonal for Saturday at 26 degrees, 27 for Sunday, and maybe some storms rolling through as we get into next Monday. Well, it was a big surprise for kids at a Nova Scotia hockey camp.
They were paid a visit from a hometown NHL star. The Hero's Welcome is our daily lift. Colorado Avalanche center Nathan MacKinnon dropped into the rink in Cole Harbour Friday, talking about his journey to the big leagues. Now, in the last 2 decades, Cole Harbour has developed a reputation as a hockey haven. It's home to MacKinnon and, of course, Sidney Crosby, 2 of the biggest stars on Team Canada and in the NHL.
My brother Adam and I coached Nathan as a Pee-wee hockey player in Cole Harbour, many years ago. And I've kept in touch with him over the years. I've run some practices for them over the summertime the last, 8-10 years or so. So I have a long-standing relationship with Nate, and he's usually pretty good if he's in town. So normally if he's in town that week, he's pretty good to come out and see the kids.
Now, the oldest kids at the camp were born in 2013. Let that sink in for a moment. You've never known a world where Cole Harbour hasn't had a hometown star playing in the NHL.
Wow, cool for them, though.
Yeah, good for them. No kidding.
Well, it's definitely not hockey weather out there right now.
Maybe ball hockey outside.
Ball hockey, that's
Ball
a good choice. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.